This is Daf Yomi Yerushalmi Demai. In the article Oz Bahar edition, we are mamish at the top of Sama Gimel Amud Aleph. Even though it says Halacha Ches, obviously we're dealing with the Gemara here, not with the Mishnah. And in the Vilna, it is on Daf Chav Tes Amud Aleph. It's in the Vilna. The Mishnah is on top of Halacha. Is on the top of Chav Tes Amud Aleph. Not sure what the Mishnah is on. There's the Mishnah in the art scroll. For some reason, it is on Amud Beis. I don't know why. Okay, so let's read the Mishnah from Amud Beis over here in Amud Aleph. Amar lechaver, and Amar said to a chaver, Kachli agudas yerek, take for me a bundle of vegetables. Kachli gluskin echad, to buy for me a loaf of bread. Lokech stam potter. You can just buy it generically, and he doesn't make up to Chumas Maisis. Im Amar zu shali v'zu shel chaveri. But if he said when he went to buy, he said this is for me, this is for my friend. But in this arvu, and they got mixed up. Chayv la'aser afilu hein mea. You have to take mice off it, even if it's 100, because there's an exchange going on here. So it's like a transaction. In other words, I'm giving him, since they got mixed up, I'm giving him, but essence was mine, and I'm not allowed to give it to him at this point, because I'm not allowed to sell him stuff which is not musar. So now the Gemara starts Tamad Taninan, and Reb Chaim explains that this and this is why the article put the Mishnah on Amud Beis, that this entire sugya goes on the seifa of the previous Mishnah on a mocher peres b'surya, and by mistake was put after this Mishnah. So the article is correct, and therefore it was proper to put it on Amud Beis. Okay, Tama Taninan. Neman el lekev ashich v'apeh b'shaiton. You are believed on leket shichapeh. There was anim believed to say that this from leket shichapeh at the time of the harvest, when there is leket shichapeh. Even though they have stuff in their hands, Chaim says, even though they have stuff in their hands, which they got from elsewhere, which is chayav, which is from going from door to door, nevertheless, they're believed to say that this is leket and this is okay. So the Gemara says that is what it says by leket shichampel. Well, the Mishnah says, previous Mishnah, like Reb Chaim said, if you know that he has a field in Syria, then you have to take meiser off. So why? It can just, if he tells you that the fruit belongs to a non-Jew, he should be believed, just like he's believed in leket shichampel, right? Besides that, he has amigo. He said, believe me that I bought it from a non-Jew. That's a non-Jew's fruit, because I could have said that I meisered them. So the Gemara answers, Tamon, over there, it says shetiku no, but the Chaim changes it, shtika so. It's supposed to say tiku no, it means the same thing. Tamon shtika so, potter. Over there, the over there that if the aniyim are silent, so then we'd assume most of what they're holding is like a shichem pale, and therefore they didn't have to say anything. In fact, to say anything is not megareah, it doesn't make it worse, but they didn't have to say anything. Here we're talking about in the previous Mishnah, talking about a case where he's mukzah can have a field in Syria, right? And therefore, since mukzah have a field in Syria, so therefore, hacha shetika so chayav, right? If he's signed, it's chayav because we assume it comes from his field in Syria. The time came. We'll know this in Brisa. Es shetiku to shetika so patur. It's a pesha asa. How much classic pesha asa pesha eater? If his son, remaining son would have patterned Namalaka, then whatever he says is believed to be Meko. But if he here he really, if he means son to be usher, he's trying to interpret it as if we Meko ain't on that when he's not believed. Tani, a non-Jew was shouting and saying, Bo tulachem mimenu, come and, by the way, I said before, Chaim is the one who said it's going on the previous mission. Read Bas is the same thing. It's obvious, so it's not just Reb Chaim. So it says Gemara. But Tani Akum Shitzavech, a non-Jew was shouting. V'Omer is saying, Bo Tlu Lachem Mimeni Peros Orla Hey Neter Baye. Buy from me. I'm selling Orla. I'm selling Neter Baye. Ain't on that money. He's not believed. Okay, so we'll see why. Imam Me'akum Ploni, if he says, I brought of him another non-Jew. Neman Hachmir is believed to be Machmir. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. This is according to Rabbi Akiva. Chomerim says, Divrei Akum Lo Malin V'Lo Maridin. Whatever non-Jew says is irrelevant. We don't neither the Kumar nor the Kula. Okay, now the Gemara says, Rabbi Yudan Boy. Rabbi Yudan asked, Hai v'hayot sovech l'fi tumo. What he was shouting, not because he wanted. Why do we not believe when he says it's Orla or when he says it's Nethervite? Because he thinks, the non-Jew, that that the it makes it better. People will be. He thinks Orla. He heard Orla must be Orla's a better crop, or Nethervite is a better crop. But so therefore, he's being Mishabech his peros. He's an error. He doesn't know about Orla and Nethervite. So therefore, we go after the Rove. Rove peros are not Orla and Nethervite. If he says from, but he brought from another non-Jew, so we have to be macher because we have to check it out, see if it's a case. Okay, so now again, Hayat would be tumo, right? If somebody shouting without intent of telling us specifically a positive or negative thing about his grade. Rabbi Yehuda, so the question, Rabbi Yehuda boy. Well, actually, he doesn't explain. He doesn't resolve the question. It could be also that there's actually a statement. Rabbi Yehuda boy it's only if he's shouting innocently. In other words, I don't think it's shouting bar, but it could be. He's doing it innocently. We can tell there's no guile here. He actually thinks he's being mishabech his mekach as opposed to being mikareet. Okay, says the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda boy. Rabbi Yehuda asked. There's a Ridbazi which makes them clearer. Who makes it clearer? Let's see the Baz. It's short. It says, as Kohen. Is this actually going further on? I don't think so. As Kohen is similar to Orla. He wants to he's trying to show off his produce. But according to Rebbe, he's believed to be machmir. Mishum Gamliel Omer. Gamliel says, Yidam boy kuti akum the spalgun. So he takes out the whole thing about tzovech v'tumo. Can't get the ksavia kacho. Okay, that's good. Takes it out. So can I take it out? I think which I don't think he would do. No, according to the time, it's a question which we don't resolve. But all right, it's there for v'tumo. Question? Don't know. Okay, Rabbi Yudan boy. Rabbi Yudan asked, and here it says Hadad the Tema, but the Gra takes that out. So the Yudan boy Kuti Ka'akum is a Kuti like a non-Jew. He's Balkum. We have Machlokas. Kuti Eno Ka'akum Diva Rebbe. Kuti is not like a Samaritan is not like a non-Jew. That's going to Rebbe. Kuti Ka'akum Chol Davar. Shimon Gamliel says Kuti is like a non-Jew for all intents and purposes. Amray Bun Barchia, Bushia Rov Machnaso Mishalo. It's talking about where most of his crop is from himself. So that means that we say in the Mishnah that if we know that he has a field in Syria, that he's going back in the Mishnah. It's going to have a field in Syria. For which he has to take Meiser. So that means Rove, that he brings to the Shuk to sell, is his. So therefore, if he's silent, it's Chayiv in Trumas and Meisers. But if Rove Machnas B'Shal Cherim, and most of his produce is from other people, then we don't assume it's for his, and therefore, even with silent, it'd be Potter. Okay? So that actually is the end of that statement. I would say that the boy here could be learned as a statement boy, not as a question boy. Be like this: I read the boy, stay kuti kakum. Kuti is like a non-Jew, and therefore, if he says orla or neter vai is not, we don't take it into account. The Rebbe Shingamir, I said kuti enokakum. Sorry, kuti is not like a non-Jew. Therefore, if he says it's orla or neter vai, we do believe him because he's a kuti. He knows these things. It's true he's not making leaf neiver, but if he says it, he's trying to keep us away from that. So therefore, we have to be machmir and assume he's telling us the truth. Kuti is like a non-Jew for all matters, meaning that if he says it's orla and etabrai, he's trying to be mashbiachet in our eyes, and therefore we don't have to assume that he's telling the truth, and we can be megal. And that, now we have a new thing. Rabbi Bun Barchia said, "Vushia ro machnaso mishalo." This is going back in the Mishnah, like Reb Chaim said. So it's going back in the Mishnah. If most of his produce, like Reb Chaim says, if most of the produce is his, right? Then and he has a field in Syria, we have to assume that it's my Chaim Shuvas and Meisers. If most of his produce comes from elsewhere, so therefore you can assume it comes from non-Jews, and so it's not necessarily chayiv in Shumas and Meises, even as the Mai. Because it's coming from Syria, and Syria they're Mekel. If Eretz Yisrael and stuff, we have to be Machman. If Syria, stuff, you can make and say, if it's going to take him elsewhere and be Stame, it's not chayiv in Shumas and Meises. Yisrael always Misuya. So now Yisrael had a sharecropper in Syria. V'shilach lo peros. He sent them fruit from Chutzaretz v'amarei l'musorim. They are meiser. So, Ni Omer, this min hashuk lokach. So this is amigo. He says we say he could have said I took from the shuk, right? And believe me, because they're going to take it from the shuk. I'm telling you, I might it. I have amigo. They could have bought it from the shuk. V'hushia also mean motzu and it's shuk in Syria. Syria, of course, is non-Jewish shuk, right? V'hushia also mean motzu b'shuk. That's if that min is prevalent in the marketplace. Okay. Lo sotar b'she'en lo also mean b'toch seo. In that case, if it's in the marketplace, it's not just when he doesn't have that min in his field, in which case there's raglaim of they put in the marketplace for the non-Jew. He even has that species in his field, so therefore, take it from his own field. Since that min is prevalent in the shuk, mutter, he has a migo, and we say it is mutter. At this point in the article, is the other edition, how the Mishnah appears, how the Mishnah Balach Ches, and then which we read before, and then the Gemara begins talking about that Mishnah. So so the Gemara says, Masnisin Rabbi Yossi. This Mishnah like Rabbi Yossi, the Tanya Lokech Stam Tzorech La'aser. So that Reb Chaim has the name of the Gra, and it probably all the Achronim have it. We put in here Divrei Rabbi Huda. Rabbi Yossi ain't Tzorech La'aser. So the somebody who the Lokeach Stam Tzorech La'aser is Divrei Rabbi Huda. It says you don't have to take off Meiser. So that's our Mishnah, because our Mishnah said you only take off Meiser if it got mixed together. So Manakim, what are you talking about? If he said the Amor said the Chaver, go and buy it for me, Shlucho, right? He's a Shliach. So then he has to take off if you're a Shliach, you don't take off Chumas Meiser because you're not selling it to the Amor. You're giving it to you're giving him what's his. If he said to the Amor, said to the Chaver, go and buy it for yourself, Shaloin, it says, of course, he has to mitzvah before giving it to the Amor. We're talking about a generic situation. In other words, he didn't specify. The seller only has a mind to be mazaket to the buyer, and to the buyer meaning the person in front of him. And therefore, when he gives it to the Amoritz, he's in essence selling it or giving it as a gift. Well, you want to look at Amoritz, and therefore he has to go to the gives it to him. The seller has a mind to give it to the person whose money it is. So therefore, the Chumas there, the Chaver is just a silent middleman, and therefore he doesn't have to take over Chumas Sumaisis before he gives it to the Amoritz. Now, this is really the middle of the sugya, but we're already way into Samach Dalet Amud Aleph. Not way into, but we're up to the fourth line, so we'll stop here.